Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 514. Today we're going to take a look at Potion Explosion. Now I believe this had an Essen release last year, but is being brought over now by Cool Mini or not. This is a very different, interesting game. It's basically a filler game, it takes 30 to 45 minutes, and players are pulling these marbles. You can see here on the back of the box there's this tray of marbles there, and you'll be pulling these out trying to trigger these explosions. And these are different ingredients and resources you're going to get to build your potions, which can score you points, but also they act as different special abilities that you can use to kind of break the rules of the game. And you're just kind of going and taking those and playing to a certain time limit of the game, and then whoever has the most victory points is the winner. So let's jump into how the mechanics actually work, and then I'll tell you what I think of it. Okay, so I've gone ahead and set up the game for 2 players here. What you're trying to do is actually brew these potions. You've got this sort of ingredient type of board here, and this is a really cool thing which I'll show you in just a second. The first thing you're going to do on a turn is give everybody their little beaker and setup here, and then give somebody the star player token. And you can see there are 6 different types of these potions. You can tell the types by with the top here. Some of these have like slime coming out and stuff, and then also the little symbol there. You're going to take 2 of those types and set them aside. You only use 6 in the game, and then you're going to go through and find some of these starter ones, get 2 random starters from the site, from the remaining there, and so you're going to have this with a star. So then players will take turns drafting in clockwise and then counterclockwise order, so everybody will have 2 of these little potions here to start the game, and these are going to be your first 2 targets that you're going to be brewing. And then you're going to take and shuffle up all of these into 5 piles. You're going to mix them up all kind of randomly. So through the magic of video, we have done that. The other thing to note is you have here a certain number of these skill tokens, in this case 4 for a 2-player game. You can see there's some extras over there which you can also get, but once these run out, that acts as kind of a timer for the game, and then the game will trigger once you run out of those. So your turn is very simple. You're just going to be taking a marble from this ingredient station here and pulling it and then adding it to your display. Now, during your sort of basic action, just your basic turn where you take a marble, you can actually trigger an explosion. So let's say I was the star player and I went ahead and I chose this red one. Now if I choose this red one, what's going to happen is after pulling this, if 2 of the same color touch, boom, then that's going to trigger an explosion like that. And so that's going to trigger as well the next things that come down. So if I triggered yet another explosion, I could take those. So let's just do this here for fun. We'll go ahead and put that like that. So let's say I took the yellow one, bam, that triggers the 2 black ones to touch, bam, that triggers the 2 red ones to touch, and so on. So then I would have gotten myself a larger handful of these ingredients. Now these ingredients may not necessarily be useful for me, but if we take a look here, you can see these are all the ingredients that I want to make up here. Now I've got a good large selection of marbles here, which it's feasible to get a good chunk of these on a turn. And then I'm going to start placing these out. So you can see, oh well, I've got these here. These 2 black ones can go there. These 2 blue ones can go here. And then maybe a red one goes here. And I've got just enough left over here that I can keep these 3 remaining like this. Now once you lock them into a spot on a potion, they stay here, but then again once you have them on the beaker here, then you're storing them for a little bit, so maybe you complete potions as you complete them, you'll draw new ones, and then you'll be able to move the stored ingredients over. Now as you complete these, you're just going to go ahead and take this and you're going to dump the ingredients back onto the board, which I'll show you, but you don't actually refill new potions until the end of the turn. So you go ahead there and just dump these off and just let them kind of fall randomly. If it ever sits on top like that, you just move it over to the next spot. And so you just kind of seat it up, and then again, as these come in, these will start falling down here. Once you complete a potion here, you'll take and flip it over, and this shows that you've activated it. You've got that many points now for the end of the game. And then once it's down here, you can now drink a potion. You take and turn it upside down to show you've drank it. You don't lose the points, but you'll get a special effect based on the type of potion that it is. Now this one here says you can take 2 ingredients from the board of different colors. Now it's worth noting that anytime that you have a potion effect that allows you to take ingredients, then no explosions will happen. Only on that basic, pull of your turn can you have the explosions happen. But you could actually set yourself up so when you take your normal pull, then you're going to get a better explosion. So it's a kind of reading the board and seeing what's out there, and then kind of comboing your different special abilities. And the iconography is pretty simple. So this one is just simply take one marble. This one here is interesting. You can take one ingredient of each color, but it has to be from the bottom row of each of the tracks there. This one is take 2 or more ingredients that match or that are all adjacent. Again, no explosions, but you can take a bunch that way. This one here allows you to actually move the ingredients here from your beaker over to these little vials, and they can be wild, so you can just put them wherever you want. This one here actually allows you to steal marbles from somebody else's as well. Let's see here. This one allows you to choose up to 5 marbles from one track and discard them back up into the top, so you can kind of clear out some gunked up stuff that's getting in the way. And finally, this one here allows you to actually activate a potion you've already drank. Now, it is also worth noting that one time on a turn, you can ask the professor for help, and that is simply just taking one of these tokens. You can pull any marble off of the board. Again, it doesn't trigger an explosion, but you can take one marble of your choice, but it's going to be worth -2 points at the end of the game. You can do this once per turn. Now, like I said, the game is going to end once this supply of skill tokens runs out. If it runs out in the last round, there's still others off to the side. Everybody gets an equal number of turns, so you always remember who the start player is. And how you get these is you either get 3 of a kind, so 3 of the same type of potion. Bam, you can take one of those. Or if you have 5 different potions, and then you can take one of these. Again, those will be worth 4 points at the end of the game. So that's it. You keep playing until this supply is gone, and then you finish out the round, and then whoever has the most points is the winner. So that is a Potion Explosion, and I gotta say I was a little bit surprised how much I really enjoyed the game. Maybe I shouldn't have been. The whole concept of pulling the marbles down is actually really interesting, and trying to set yourself up to get that big combination and to get that big explosion. So that's really cool. And in the meantime, you know, you don't want to just get too much of it. It doesn't really hurt you, but you know, if you can't put the marbles anywhere, then you just kind of waste it, and then you put them all back. So you might have a little bit of a thought to like, well, maybe I won't do that right now because I don't really need 15 marbles, you know, or whatever. I mean, the situations are kind of rare, but it's fun. It's kind of light. It kind of reminds me of Splendor a little bit, so maybe that's why I kind of like it, where you're kind of picking and choosing. You know, your turns start off kind of simple, but then as you sort of become equipped with these different special abilities that you can do, you can kind of churn through the potions a little bit faster. But then, you know, once that everybody's kind of at that stage, you kind of burn through those 4-point skill tokens, and then, you know, the game's over. So it plays pretty quick. I'd say probably 30 to 45 minutes or so, depending on the player count. You know, if you have more players, it just takes more time. It can be a little bit kind of AP inducing. The one thing I have seen, you kind of see this sometimes in games, is people kind of like telling people like, oh, if you grab that one, because they want their turn to be over. But some people have a little bit more of a knack kind of just for studying the board and seeing when the combos will happen. But I like, it's kind of a nice combination of sort of this little bit of brain burn, but a very fun kind of silly, lighthearted thing where, you know, you pull the marble and you watch it go clack and then it explodes, but you have a little bit of strategic thinking there, and well, I should say tactical thinking, you know, and it's kind of just a fun, lighthearted vibe from the game, but it still kind of exercises your mind a little bit. That's a nice, perfect kind of family game that does that, and that's really cool. I really like that. So I definitely recommend it. The components are great. You know, this marble box just sits right in the box like that. You just throw all the marbles in a bag and dump them out. That's a fun, kids like to do that, you know, where you pour the marbles out and see where they all kind of land. That's pretty fun. So, and you can kind of customize it. If you don't like the one, you know, where you can steal marbles from some people get upset, but you know, so you can take those out because you only use 6 of the 8 style of potions. But it's good. It's enjoyable, and I think a lot of families especially will get a good kick out of it. This is a nice kind of main course, especially if you're playing with 4 players, you know, and you can be silly and have fun with it, and also at the same time, like I said, use your brain and really get into sort of the little bit of the puzzle from it. So definitely take a look at this one. Thanks.